Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Charlie. Before we get into our true crime, please may I ask you all to help me by clicking the like button. It's you guys who make the difference in the channel growing by viewing my content and liking it. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It really, really helps. Thank you so much. Okay, let's get straight into the case. Today we're looking at the Tyarra missing case. Tiara was born in Greensboro in North Carolina on the 18th of June 1996. So she'd be 25 today. Tiara is described as a very friendly and caring person by her friends and family. She's full of life, very sociable, despite her parents' marriage breakup when she was still quite young. I couldn't find anything on her father or whether she had a good relationship with him. From around the age of 7, she lived with her mum and her brother, but in high school she opted to move in with her maternal grandmother, though she claimed it was to help look after her and keep an eye on her. She also largely benefited from becoming more free to come and go as she pleased. I should add that she toed the line. She was a good girl. She just wanted a bit more independence. She frequented Dudley High School in Greensboro, and it was there that she joined an early childhood development program which would lead her into her desired job, working with disabled people of all age groups. Helping those in need was something she was quite passionate about. So it was in her senior year that she moved out of her mum's and into her grandmother's flat. She lived in the Stony Brook Apartments, which is near Randleman Road. Though mum and daughter got on well and they were actually pretty close, moving into her grandmother's home gave her that little bit more breathing space. To be honest, I think most teenagers feel this way. Her high school graduation was in 2014, and she chose to take some time off with the intent on returning at the very end of 2015. She enrolled in Guildford Technical Community College for early childhood development. So, following that dream of working with young learners and those with disabilities. So, what happened on the day of her disappearance? It was on the 7th of January 2016. She was a mere 19 years of age. She was in college at 8 o'clock in the morning, bright and early, to complete her enrollment enrollment and get her student ID made. At 6 o'clock that evening, she went to catch up with her mum and fill her in on her day whilst helping to dismantle the Christmas tree. They spent some time together until her boyfriend, Aaron, and her little brother pitched up. At 8 o'clock or thereabouts, the three made their way over to her grandmother's for dinner. After they ate, they started watching TV. It was a short time after this that Tiara suddenly said she was going to meet up with a friend in the same block. And she referred to him as Travis. It wasn't someone known, but also so unexpected and out of the blue. Aaron just didn't question it, because she's a sensible girl, she's reliable and trustworthy. So he simply didn't say anything. The three of them set off together. Her brother went with Aaron to his home to play video games, and Tiara said she'd be back an hour later because Travis lived in the same apartment complex. Later, through GPS tracking, her mobile phone did indicate that she'd remained in that vicinity, but it shut off shortly afterwards, so it either died or it got switched off. Needless to say, Tiara didn't return home an hour later. Aaron didn't hear from her again, and when he tried calling her, her phone went directly to voicemail. He and her brother went back to the grandmother's apartment to wait for her return, but she was never seen or heard from again. The very next morning, when Tiara still hadn't returned, Aaron woke Tiara's grandmother up early to alert her of her absence. She immediately rang her mobile, which continued to go straight to voicemail. She then called Danielle, who's Tiara's mother, and asked if she had seen her daughter. Danielle hadn't seen or heard from Tiara since she'd left the day before. Danielle went straight away to meet up with Aaron to go through step by step what took place the day before. Aaron explained that Tiara had said she was going to meet someone named Travis, who he had never heard of before, but because he wanted to be the chill and trusting boyfriend, he hadn't questioned it. Danielle also didn't recognize the name, so she logged into Tiara's Facebook account to see if she could come across his name. But no one by the name of Travis was on her friends list. However, what she did stumble across were messages to an ex-boyfriend. So it appeared that Travis was code for her ex. She clearly used it so that she wouldn't be confronted about him. read somewhere that she was unsure about her relationship with Aaron because she felt it wasn't going anywhere, but she hadn't broken up with him because she just couldn't bring herself to do it and to upset him. Whether there's any truth to this or not, I don't know. But it does help make more sense as to why she was actively chatting to other boys. Well, let me just add here that as her mother was trying to locate her daughter herself without involving the cops, Tiara wasn't actually reported missing until 8 p.m. that night. So, technically, 24 hours after she vanished, which unfortunately is quite a long time that they lost. I also think it's important to say that a conversation took place between Tiara's family about why on earth he didn't query Tiara more about this dude she said she was meeting up with, someone he had never heard of before. And he said, looking back, he really regrets not questioning her about it, but that in that moment he chose not to say anything out of being respectful of her, and I guess he was showing his trust in her. I also think at 19 he figured he was doing the right thing by giving her the space. Law enforcement did interview and questioned him at a later date, specifically about his whereabouts, which I'm sure was pretty tough on him, seeing as he was basically with her family throughout that time, but he took it on the chin and was cleared as a suspect relatively quickly. And again, it's important to clarify that Tiara had never left home without telling someone where she was going at all times up until this point, and much less disappear for days at a time. It was just completely out of character for her. Things were peaceful at home. She was very close to all her family members, so running away was totally out of the question. Stony Brook apartment complex was searched 2 days after her disappearance on January the 9th by family and friends, but it was to no avail. Police and investigators also searched the area and interviewed neighbours, but they came up with nothing. Flyers were put up around the apartment complex as well as around the neighbourhood, but no witnesses ever came forward. She just seems to have vanished out of sight. On the 11th of January, the case was given to the Crimes Against Persons Squad. Danielle spoke with the detectives about what she believed might have happened to her daughter. She relayed the Facebook who she thought Travis might have been, and gave them the real name of Tiara's ex-boyfriend. He was now a person of interest because he could have been the last person to see Tiara alive. Investigators brought him in for questioning, and at first he denied ever seeing or talking with her, but when the investigators produced messages from Facebook, he backtracked, fessing up that he had in fact seen her the night of her disappearance. So he completely changed his story. He admitted to police that it was him who had initially reached out to her, asking her to meet up with him. And this adds up as to why she made up the fake name, not wanting her boyfriend Aaron to know that basically she was going to go and hang out with her ex. So this guy claimed she sat in his car with him and they chatted for half an hour, and that she then made her way back to her grandmother's apartment. Text messages between the two corroborate this story, and the police searched his car, but they found no evidence of Tiara or of any foul play. Isn't that so convenient, though? Anyway, with such a lack of any evidence anywhere, I mean, at this point it's as if she just vanished into thin air. There are no witnesses and there's no DNA anywhere. Investigators began to dig more into her life, and they found she actually had a second ex-boyfriend, and this guy went by the name of Trey. It appeared at the time that Tiara still had strong feelings for him, but they wanted different things, and so they'd broken up. But Trey still cared for Tiara, which meant they hadn't parted on bad terms. He corroborated the investigation, answered all questions. They determined that he had nothing to do with her disappearance, and according to reports online, Danielle, Tiara's mum, also believes that Trey was innocent. He was very upset about her disappearance. A further twist in the storyline occurred shortly afterwards on the 20th of February. Trey was found dead in his apartment from a gun wound. Police at first thought his murder was in some way linked to Tiara's disappearance, but it later transpired that the incident was the result of a fallout with his roommate. It's yet another tragedy. Billboards were put up along local roads, and a Facebook page was created for Tiara. Crime Stoppers released a flyer, and a hotline was set up for tips. that could be done to find Tiara. Just 2 weeks after the hotline was set up, a call came through from a sanitation worker in High Point. He had witnessed a girl who resembled Tiara walking disoriented down the street. Another anonymous witness claimed to have also seen the same girl on Textile Drive in Greensboro. Police also received 2 more tips claiming that Tiara was dead and that her body had been dumped in a tractor-trailer lot across the street from the Stony Brook apartment. Nothing at all came from these and many, many more tips. They were all dead ends. On February the 8th, authorities decided to do a more in-depth search around the area of the apartments. And this included the wooded areas around the complex, creeks, and even sewer drains. Unfortunately, it was a cold and icy day. Even with tracking dogs, their search came to nothing. And they eventually went back after the ice had melted, but again, it was to no avail. The National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children added her to their website and also continues to take calls and tips from all over the US about Tiara. Her family follow up as many leads as they can. There is a cash reward for any information on Tiara's whereabouts, in the hopes that it will encourage those who know what happened to her to come forward. Many believe that Tiara may have been abducted and taken into human trafficking. From the sightings of a girl resembling Tiara walking around disoriented, it's believed that she may have been drugged and held hostage. Though this is a possibility, what crosses my mind is that she was such a friendly and probably too trusting young adult. She was in a familiar place when she disappeared, which leads me to think, as is so often the case, that she's trusted someone that she already knew. The theory that most people believe is that the ex-boyfriend is responsible for her disappearance. He was the last known person to have been with her. And remember, he had a means of transport. And the fact that he contacted her is also quite suspicious, considering she had already started dating someone new. And there's no question this ex-boyfriend knew this, as they had been texting back and forth before meeting up. What if he misinterpreted her going to meet up with him, because Tiara had a big heart, and at 19 she was still figuring out who she was and what she was about. What if this ex-boyfriend thought she was going to meet up to get back together with him, and when he realised that wasn't her intention at all, could he have reacted badly, snapped? He started with a lie right at the beginning, saying he hadn't seen her. Makes it seem very fishy to me. Why lie if you've nothing to hide? That's what I think. As previously mentioned, when this guy's car was searched, they found no trace of her. Police had nothing to go on. Isn't it also interesting that his name isn't known to the general public? If it's being concealed, then there's a reason for it. Tell me what you think. Let me know your opinions. I'd really love to hear from you. If you have any information on this case, please contact Greensboro Police Department 336-373-222, or Crime Stoppers at 336-373-1000. I'll leave her Facebook